Why hello there, fellow survivors gasping for fresh oxygen. Rodamont here. Thank you for tuning in to Stationeers Brutal Vulcan. Episode 11. Engineering an Oxygen Fill Station. Okay, right now what I want to do is add more basins, add more trays. Add more grow trays. And then cool water. So I need to mine up some iron for the grow trays because all of our potatoes are about to fruit again and then seed. And I don't think I have iron for that. I have 33, that's not enough. I need at least 100. And then I want to cool down the water that we have outside so that it's drinkable. So I can stop stealing water from my my farm. Ooh, 20 days. We're almost at 3 weeks. And another grow light, yes. I already have the electrum for the grow light because we already made a batch of electrum. So for the grow light, I think I have everything but the iron as well. And if I work fast, I can use my furnace because it's hot enough for iron. I don't need a ton of it. Just like 150-ish will be fine. For now. That's probably good enough. See that my solar panels aren't really keeping up. I can add solar to the network soon, once the water situation is remedied. And the growing capacity is added. I'm just doing a visual confirmation that, like, none of the cables are blown out. Yeah. And they're all fully repaired and 100% efficient. It's just, yeah, I'm using more power now. So, makes sense. Add 1 or 2 wind turbines? Nah. Wind on this planet produces about 100 watts. A solar panel produces about 650. So wind turbines are really only useful, in my opinion, to generate power during ash storms. And that's about it, unless you add a crap ton of them. Hence my reluctance to rely on wind. One of the advantages of Vulcan is that black hole is bright as hell. So, might as well take advantage of that, right? So, 10 more trays and 1 more grow light. Steel, electrum, copper for that. I think my copper's in there, though. Yep. Oh, I don't have a lot of cables, do I? I have enough to power up a grow light. Alright, there's the grow light. Here's the trays. That might be seeding. I don't have a good concept of the visual changes that are made when they're ready. And then I should get a good count of, like, the total amount of potatoes I got here, because I haven't actually counted the amount. So it's 5 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, that seems fine. Before I forget which one I just picked for seeds, let's get that planted. Alright, so let's wire up the grow light. The grow light's already on a batch writer, so I don't need to do anything but plug it in. Done. Because it will write to every grow light. So some of these are not, very few are actually ready to get pulled, so I'm going to have to check back later. Only the one I first looked at was going to seed. The rest of these are not good to go. Alright, I guess I'll come back later. Let's, I'm going to lower this down to 20 so that when I blast hot CO2, it's less of a thermal shock. So, I'll come back later. Hey, Sea Turtle and John Banshee, thank you for the resubs. Alright. This is probably done. Let's check. No, I still got steam. Because we haven't... Okay, so I see that the pressure in my coolant is really low. The solar angle is still... It's still dump time. I might change it to like 45 from 75. Closer to 0. Because it seems like I'm dumping more than I really want to. Let's do 45.
Waste tank caution.
The next pet project is recycle waste tanks. Because I have a lot of waste tanks, and I have need of oxygen. So, my oxygen intake is here, and I just want, like, a utility for me to dump waste tanks into. So, pipe gas utility, and then, an insulated pipe. This won't be a hard project. Where's my steel, though? So we'll see the dump here. Outflow logic just failed because it's greater than 45. It's 46 now. So that little change obviously would work, but I just tested. So eventually what I would like is a passive vent roughly here. So actually I'll do the plumbing for that. A passive vent there that is an intake for the O2 filter so that I'm pulling oxygen passively through here and filtering the oxygen out of it, and then dumping the unfiltered stuff back to the farm. Or dumping it to the CO2 tanks. Or dumping it. I might get rid of it, because CO2 is not that valuable, even if it is the correct temperature. So let's make that line as well. So that it can start siphoning oxygen off of the farm. Because I'm going to need to do that eventually, or the farm is going to become too oxygenated for plant growth. It'll eventually become 100% oxygen and too pressurized to add CO2. So I might as well get that going. Ooh, I'm going to have to raise it up a bit so that I don't cover up the power. Though, I don't care about data. but I do care about power. Alright, a little ugly, but... Yeah. Oh, that was weird. It'll work. Now, I still need the passive vent, but at least it will be plugged in. The other thing I might want is... So for now, what I'll do is this. I'm going to separate this out so that I can have some sort of valve eventually, so that I don't flush my waste tanks into the farm. So I'll just create a breach in the piping for now. There we go. And then I need the unfiltered stuff, which is not oxygen, to go somewhere. And I think, actually, feeding it to my coolant line seems fine. I don't want to assume that it's carbon dioxide, because it doesn't, if, like, I used my jetpack in there, it might not be, because it would be nitrogen. So I don't want to make any assumptions, because there's a chance that some pollutant gets caught up in the farm. So I'm just going to put anything that is an oxygen into the coolant line. I think that's a safer bet. How much steam do we got left? Oh, we're down to 50 moles. We're getting pretty close to our first batch of water being done. The coolant line just like overheated massively, and there's some things that I could do to help prevent that in the future. So one is adding more volume to our separate water coolant line, so that it's less susceptible to shock by adding pressure to it. And another is just to bring the temperature down even lower. But we wouldn't want it. We don't want to freeze the water, so we don't want to lower the coolant any lower than, like, you know, what do I have it at? Let's do 3 degrees Celsius. You know, I think water is densest, not that this game does this, at like 4 degrees Celsius, something like that. Which is weird. Just odd thing about water. Seems arbitrary. That is correct? Yeah. Well, look at me, I'm a chemist now. Okay. So we got 2 moles of oxygen in the system right now. And with this thing on, we should be able to add a lot more oxygen into the system. So let's do that. All of these waste cans, if we stick in then, they will eventually get flushed, because the filter has like suction, so the filter is pulling air out of these things until they hit 0. And now this is a truly empty can. And for now, I'm just going to dump the cans aside. And the next thing we want to do is to cool the oxygen in there so that it's breathable. So let's go get a radiator. Now, this is something that I want to remedy later on, but for right now, I don't care. Eventually, I want to cool down the oxygen in these tanks with a heat exchanger, rather than to use the base's ambient temperature. Because I want the temperature of my base not to fluctuate violently. But for right now, as a stopgap measure to me suffocating to death, I'm just going to do radiators like this. Because I want to bring the temperature of this oxygen down so that I can actually breathe it. Because if I pumped in 50 degrees Celsius oxygen, my suit is set up to try to keep the AC on, and it's just gonna like flush all that oxygen through my entire system pointlessly. Because it's too hot. You know, you can't use, you know, hot oxygen as a air conditioning. Yeah, this had a millimole of oxygen. Might as well grab that too. And these are cans that I'm not going to really need. Now, at some point, I might want to cool down my CO2 in the same way with radiators, bring it down to ambient, and then eventually with a heat exchanger. Because I want my CO2 to be more room temperature too, because that would help a lot when I flush new CO2 into the farm. I don't have to worry about temp shocks. And then I can use the CO2 from this as propellant, because I'm going to run out of propellant for my jetpack, and CO2 propellant is neutral. It's, you know, it's a plentiful gas that using it in the base is fine, using it outdoors is fine, so I'm going to use it as a propellant. Ooh, and there we go. We have our intake valve turning on. So we've got 148 Celsius coolant. And then this coolant loop is cooling down as well, which means I'm going to guess the steam is done. Yep, steam is done. So I'll have to go out to visually check to make sure that the condensation chamber is done. But there's no more steam being filtered through this. So this can turn off. But it's 10 watts. I'm just leaving it on for now. I didn't that yet. It's empty. So I only really need to keep one of these as a waste tank swap. And I can keep the waste tank swap here for now. And the rest of these cans is basically trash. Yeah, I could try to recycle them, but I don't care to. And the reason I'm setting this up is this tank here is becoming depressurized. I'm basically using up the oxygen in it. And eventually my own air tanks being able to just do a hot swap won't actually have enough oxygen for me to really use. You know, once it's down to about 1,000 kPa, I burn through that pretty quick. So we have got 200 moles of oxygen to play with, and it is all roughly room temperature. So then the other thing I want is a pressure regulator. No, that's a volume pump. A pressure regulator. Where's my copper? Did I use up all my copper? Oh, no, I put it away for some reason. A pressure regulator and another tank utility to be able to fill... Oh, I should tend to that. To fill my oxygen tanks back up. I'll set this up later after I hydrate. Let's go fill up a water bottle first. And my plants are probably ready to... No, they're not seeds yet. Oh, some are. Okay, we have an emergency seed. If I have a full crop loss, I can restart my farm. And now I'm just looking for extra seeds. Here we go. Because now I have a potato to cook. Okay, that was everything that was ready for seeds, I think. So I'll have to check back again. But cool, my first potato that I can eat now that the farm is full.
Hunger caution.
I know, I'm working on it, lady. She nags me so much. Might as well get married. I'm kidding. My wife does not nag me, like, ever. Oh, well, that zero bar was 99% of the way there. That's close enough. Done. Okay, waste tank recycling is done. Now, let's set up O2 tank fill. So, I'm gonna get a utility. And all this waste tank storage. And then this is going to be maybe on the ceiling. So let's get more util pipes. I don't want them next to each other because it can cause a big problem if I get them mixed up. Because I don't want to introduce like CO2 into my aux supply or the inverse. Come on. There we go. No, that's backwards. Maybe I'll just put a back pressure regulator. It doesn't really matter. No, the other way. Not a pressurant valve. Pressure regulator, back pressure regulator. Can you just... Can you cooperate? Arrows that way, put the panel down? It doesn't want to do that. Fine. I'll do back pressure. No, I'm going to use a regular pressure regulator. It's going to be easier to follow along. Okay, so pressure regulator. Like that? Perfect. Oh, and there's a one weird thing where, like, it wants, you can't do a pressure regulator straight into the utility. It needs to be to a pipe to a utility. Whatever. There's also one other thing I wanted to do here. So I'm going to do one more insulator pipe. And this is so that I can have reserved oxygen that can't be combusted. So I'm going to do 2 more pipe utilities. So beyond this pipe regulator, I'm going to have a utility tank that gets filled to 5,000 kPa. So that if I accidentally have my fuel gas mixer on, a whole bunch of oxygen gets siphoned off for breathing anyway. So I can't have a situation where I, like, burn all my oxygen into water. So this is a bit of a failsafe. A smart one. So if I have a utility tank here, then this pressure regulator will try to fill the spare tank here with oxygen and this thing at 5,000. So that it's like a reserve. I think you can understand. Oh, and then I guess one of these needs to be for oxygen. Cool. Alright, let's get this wired up. And then go check on my water supply and, like, chill it. So I can drink it. I don't have to keep stealing from the crops. But I do have a potato and a potato seed for food. So now if I label, this is the O2 fill. O2 fill pressure regulator, and we'll set this to 5,000. Not 50,000. That would be explosive. 5,000. The reason for 5,000 is these canisters have a max of about 10K, but when they get hot, gas expands. So I don't want to get close to that 10K mark because I don't want my O2 canisters exploding when exposed to Vulcan. Right? So I'm playing it very safe. Yeah. Turn that on. And now this should be 100% oxygen ready to swap. And if I want to put more oxygen into the system, I can do that. Because what I could do is dump this whole tank into the farm and siphon it through a passive vent. Well, I guess I'll hold that. And I'll... yeah. There it goes. Don't clang me, please. Because I'm only getting 1700 kPa off of this thing. So this has basically run its course. It's not going to be useful anymore. This thing's not quite at that level. But there's still oxygen left to be flushed into the system. Yes. So let's go ahead and change the tank fill. So I'm gonna swap this now, and I'll have to create like valves to be able to use one or the other. But if I get it wrong, it's not a big deal, as long as it's on this side, because if it has a passive tank, all that's going to happen is the CO2 that I don't want goes back to the farm. So it's actually, I don't even think I need a valve. But truthfully, I really don't. Because, oh well, a little bit more CO2 goes to my farm. Who cares? Even if it's hot CO2, it's not going to be enough of it. So yeah, let's forget that. I don't think I need to over-engineer this, truth be told. So let's get that passive vent in. And then pull the seeds too, because more seeds is good to have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this spare oxygen tank out. Just in case there's something wrong with the system, I have like a backup tank. Passive vent's in. And this passive vent will be... Oh, you know, actually there's a problem with this system. I'm going to undo that for now. The problem with this system is it will passively suck CO2 out of the room, but it's not replenishing it. Which means it will depressurize this room. So I'm gonna wait on that for a minute. So let's flush the CO2 that isn't oxygen back into the room before I fully set this up. So I'll install this here so it doesn't float around. But before that stage, build up my strategic food supply. One of the advantages is if you have seeds in your hand, you can just stare at something, and if it's not seeds, you can't pick it. So it's like a fail-safe of not pulling up not ready potatoes. Oh, that potato plant only got 1 potato, even though it was to seeding. So I guess it had like a mutant yield low or something. This one isn't ready, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Because, wait, what the hell? It just seeded? I have... Yeah, I guess it literally seeded as I was pulling potatoes out of it. That's funny. Alright, there we go. So we have 11 seeds and 11 potatoes. And everything's been replanted. In terms of how much water there's in the system, it's still 6 liters, so that's a lot of water for plants. So I'm not really worried about it running out just yet. Okay, so to change this here, we're going to want to sever it like this. Oops, let's put this away. This one first, because we don't want the coolant to go anywhere near our farm. So now this is coolant. Oh, it's because we just dumped it. Yeah, our ACs stop working around this time of the day. I might need to tinker with this amount again. What I could do is I can have more intake vents. But let's have it be when it's less than, like, 15 degrees. I'll just... Oh, not that one. This one. So only really when it's, like, close to high noon do we do a dump. I knew that I needed to tinker with it. So, 15 degrees is right around, like, high noon. Right? Because 0 is high noon and 15 is left and right of it. So, why I did that is, looking at our coolant line, I see that we, like, dumped way too much coolant way too quickly. And now our coolant line is, like, superheated and ineffective in cooling down the base, cooling down the farm, cooling down our other coolant loop. So I wanted to remedy that. Alright, back to the oxygen siphoning. So, we want a... We'll put CO2 back into the room up here. And run some plumbing on the ceiling. So this outflow needs to go in there. So I'm going to need more insulated pipes. And that way, carbon dioxide just freely flows around the filter. Yep, one of these. And then pipes. Whereas the oxygen then gets captured. So this is just like oxygen capture with the CO2 unfiltered flowing back out. It was seeded the entire time. It's just a full stack of seeds. Yeah, I think you're right. And all I want to do is not block the logic for this so that I can look at the logic freely. So we'll have this come in like that. And you can see why I made it very spacious, because it is quickly filling up with, like, pipes and stuff. And at some point, like, I'll bother with, like, pipe labelers and I might even color code it once I have, like, a portable filter to be able to get rid of all the pollutant that spray painting causes. But now, if it's carbon dioxide, it goes back into the farm, and if it's oxygen, it goes into the tanks. So, let's connect up the passive vents and fire up this system. So taking a look, it is 85 kPa, 30% oxygen. And we'll let this flow. So if once the O2 filter is on, that 30% oxygen should start dropping down to, it's probably going to settle around like 1 to 2%, because the passive vents aren't like perfectly efficient. I mean, they shouldn't be. But now, as you can see, there is oxygen obviously being added to the tanks, which then is capturable in this air tank here. So it works. Which means, now that we know it works, I can release the gas from this portable tank. Right? It's not depressurizing. Not really. Not violently. I can release the oxygen from this portable tank and put it into the system, so this portable tank becomes obsolete. And this thing is my spare oxygen tank, just in case there's something that goes wrong. I'll have 600 kPa to fix it, or 1600 kPa to fix it. And this maybe is the last time I fill this way. Because the next project, now that my oxygen recycling is done, will be to set up my water cooling. I'm just waiting for this to hit 0. So that's a lot more oxygen into my O2 tanks. But as you can see, the moles of carbon dioxide in this room aren't dropping. I mean, they'll drop a little bit because the potatoes are absorbing, breathing in carbon dioxide. So there's a tiny bit shift of CO2 moles, but not a lot. All right, this ox tank's almost empty. And then I can pack it up. All right, it's time to pack it. Wondering how I keep the heat from the waste tank adding to the greenhouse? I have an air conditioner in the greenhouse, so I don't even care about that. The total volume of the greenhouse is high enough that whatever hot gas is coming off my waste tank isn't going to move the needle very much. So as you can see, the moles of oxygen are dropping because they're being filtered out. Works perfect. Awesome. And now I have a portable gas tank that I don't really need. And if I did everything right, this should be pretty close to, well, it's going to climb to 5,000. We still have, yeah. We have almost 400 moles of oxygen here, and 300 moles of oxygen here, and 75 moles of oxygen there. So there's lots of oxygen to be added through this O2 pressure regulator, filling up this tank, closing in on 5,000 so that I can just, keep swapping it, hot swap it, and never really have to worry about it. And then if you're wondering about the temperature of the waste tank, here, I'll show you. Swapping waste tank raised the temperature of the farm by 1.5 degrees, 2 degrees, something like that. No big deal. And I can create a better system so that doesn't happen, but it works. All right. Current priority now that I have the O2 tank fill done is Setup, water cooling, and bottle filling. So, my liquid pipes are here. I'm going to need way more than 6. Liquid. Insulated piping. And I might need to add some additional power generation, because, ugh. I'll be able to turn some stuff off, to save power. Soon. Like, I'm gonna assume everything out there can be turned off. I think that's a pretty safe assumption at this point. But yeah, I could just add solar to the the network. That's pretty cheap. Okie dokie. Things that I don't need on that can be turned off. I think I got most of everything. So, you. 154. Nice. It worked. Thank you for tuning in to Stationeer's Brutal Vulcan, which originally streamed live on Twitch. If you have any questions for me, let me know in the comments below, but I'm not looking for feedback or backseating. If you'd like to catch a live stream of mine, Radamonk.com has my stream schedule and countdown timers to upcoming streams. If you'd like to join my online gaming community on Discord, Radamonk.com has a link to it, as does the description of this video. Thank you so very much for watching. Special thank you to my Twitch subscribers, Patreon patrons, and viewers like you that support the channel and made it all the way to the credits. Thank you so very much. I hope to catch you next episode or an upcoming stream. Catch you next time.